Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Browns are certainly one of the NFL teams playing this season. How is their quarterback competition going? Also, who are the top players in college football? And can the Tennessee Titans be a surprise team thanks to their veteran core surrounding Cam Ward?
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
At one point, it was theoretically going to be 4 guys competing to be the Cleveland Browns' starting quarterback. That's whittled down a little bit with Kenny Pickett being hurt. And I guess we'll see. Spencer German from Locked On Browns has been at Browns camp, taking notes with all of this. It is, I don't know, to me a little bit, Spencer, like a pillow fight here for this quarterback job. But what have been your impressions of it so far?
Yeah, listen, I think it's not lost on Browns fans, like what they're sort of experiencing here. I think everyone kind of understands, like, this is a competition to get through a year, hypothetically, and then hopefully find your franchise quarterback on the other side. But if they happen to stumble into Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders being that guy, they'll take it. But I think right now the Browns are taking a very realistic and sort of measured approach to the competition. It's from the beginning. It was a lot of Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett taking first team reps and sort of rotating that group. That has kind of continued with Flacco taking the bulk of those first team reps, and Dylan Gabriel, who the Browns at this point view as a little bit more advanced in just his development and his ability at the NFL level, taking some of those first team reps, and then Shedeur Sanders being the only one who hasn't taken any reps with the ones. I do know today he took his first reps. They were kind of doing like mixed groups, where it was like 2s versus 1s and 1s versus 3s and different things like that. And I think he actually went against the first team defense for the first time. So that's a step in the right direction for him. But yeah, for the Browns, it's a lot of smoke and mirrors and just trying to kind of manage like what their quarterback situation is going to be for a year until they really figure out the answer. And I don't think they want the answer to be one of these rookies too soon either. They're not going to rush to put either of those guys out there. And you know, if Pickett comes back sooner rather than later from this injury and sort of puts his hat back in the ring, I think they do that. He can be a Sam Darnold-like project for them, who sort of revives his career. But that obviously seems a little more unlikely and seems a little more improbable given the injury situation. Yeah. We know those soft tissue things can linger longer than people think.
I guess my question here, Spencer, is why Joe Flacco? Like, if really the goal is, hey, in a year is really when we'd like to, in earnest, find our starter. They did not spend premium draft capital on either Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders, with, you know, the brand name of Shedeur Sanders notwithstanding here. So why are they going through with Joe Flacco if the organization seems to be saying, we know that this is not it? Like, why bother with that?
Because I think the Browns are in a weird situation where they're trying to sort of win now while rebuild, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They chose not.
You mentioned it, Sam Darnold.
Yeah. Like they chose not to rip off the Band-Aid and just say, let's suck for a year. Because if they had done that, it probably would have looked something like trading Myles Garrett during the offseason when he asked for a trade, right? They re-upped with him. They re-signed him. Joe Bitonio, veteran in this league, who's been one of the best guards in football for years. He's coming back. He came back this year, last year of his contract. He could be retiring next year. But, you know, like, there's enough guys in this room that are veterans that want to win, that are in the primes of their careers or at points in their career where that's, you know, their priority. And so I think they're trying to sort of thread that needle between, well, hey, can we be competitive? Can we field a competitive team? And can we sort of navigate this quarterback situation the best we can? And Flacco's kind of like a safety net for them. We saw what he did in 2023. It was a 5-game sample size. I have been on the record on my show saying, don't expect Joe Flacco to start 17 games for you. Like, I'm not, what we saw over that 5-game span, I don't think is going to be Joe Flacco for a 17-game season. You might get that first stretch. You might get that early in the season, assuming he's the starter. But I'm not banking on that being the thing that the Browns ride to, you know, some magical season or anything like that, the way they did in 2023 for that short period of time. So I think this sets up where Flacco or Pickett, if he gets back into the competition, starts the year, and then you sort of pave way for other guys, most likely the rookies, to start down the line later on this season. But yeah, I think that's the explanation for why they went about it this way is let's give ourselves a fighter's chance. Joe Flacco knows the offense. They kind of know what to expect with him running that offense. And so they're going to see if it gets them to a point where they're competitive. And if it doesn't, they can pivot to some of these young guys that they obviously brought in.
Speaking of young guys, if the Browns are going to be competitive this year, it is probably going to be in part because some of their high draft picks popped here. They traded out of the top spot, still got Mason Graham, Carson Schlesinger, the linebacker, who was part of all of the guaranteed money in the second round shenanigans. And then Harold Fannin Jr. is someone that was a really fun collegiate player. What has been the story with the rookies so far?
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. The Browns are counting on, like, if they're going to surprise people, if they're going to be that competitive team that they think they can try to sort of balance their thread the needle on here, they need some of those guys to hit immediately. And Mason being the chief among them, because he is forever going to be linked to Travis Hunter, no matter whether he likes it or not. The fact that they traded down from that spot, if Travis Hunter becomes a Hall of Famer and Mason Graham is just like an okay player, that's going to be something that gets used against the Browns for years. So they are banking on him being a dominant defensive tackle for them, a guy that gets after the quarterback, gets in and causes some problems. And I think in year one, they're hoping to see that. The nice thing is he has Myles Garrett playing next to him, and that should free him up to be able to be a little even more effective. Carson Schlesinger, he kind of got thrown a wrench this past week because Jordan Hicks, veteran linebacker, retired last week, announced his retirement. And so he's kind of been the guy at practice with the green dot on the helmet, really sort of running the defense, telling guys where to be, which is a lot of responsibility for a rookie. But I'll tell you, in some ways, I think it's kind of a good thing because they're going to find out pretty quickly if he can cut it, right? Like if he has what it takes to be that guy on the defense and if he has what it takes to make it at the NFL level. And they love his pedigree, the fact that he was a walk-on at UCLA who then went on to earn a scholarship. Like you'd think he has the want to and the desire to be great. So they're banking on him sort of replacing JOK in a sense. And then Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, for those who maybe aren't familiar with the nickname that we use here in Cleveland for him. And then, I think Harold Fannin has a chance to really make an impact, especially because the Browns are going to go back to this Kevin Stefanski offense, a lot of 12 personnel. They don't have a lot of options at slot receivers right now. So you might see a lot of Harold Fannin actually lining up in the slot making plays. And the the biggest one is, I think, Quinshon Judkins and his whole legal situation that's playing out because they were banking on him being their sort of workhorse back. And without him, as you go back to this Kevin Stefanski offense, the outside zone stuff and the play action game, they needed him to be part of that. Yeah, and we don't know what that situation holds. I'm guessing he's going to get some sort of suspension from the league. We'll see. And it's complicated even further because he is one of, he might be the only second round pick not signed at this point.
Yes.
And so, that's a problem too. Like it's not like he's under contract yet. So the Browns are even kind of playing that close to the vest and being like, yeah, we'll see kind of what happens when it comes to his future with the Browns. I'm guessing he gets signed once this is all said and done, but that kind of complicates things and throws a major sort of hurdle in their way because they were banking on having him. And I actually thought he was the rookie that was going to make the biggest impact just because of how much they were going to rely on the run game and the offense.
You can stay up to date all year on the Cleveland Browns by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Browns on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. You're Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, we take a look at the top players in college football. Before we get to that, Jonathan Kaminga keeps telling the Warriors, no. Ever wished managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. The Golden State Warriors keep trying to re-sign Jonathan Kaminga, and he keeps rejecting their offer, the latest of which, a 2-year, $45 million deal.
Of things who are a team that are interested in Kaminga. that they're not willing to go above $20 million per year, which he's obviously seeking. So it's not just the Warriors that are telling him that he's not a $25 or $30 million player. It's the market right now. And I think if Kaminga is interested in signing a contract, it's a completely fair deal to lean into, because it would get him out from under the Warriors relatively soon. It would make him tradable, and it would get him to a contract at age 25. So to me, right now where things stand as we approach the end of July, that's the most reasonable deal out there for Jonathan Kaminga. 2 years for $40 million. And I think he would be wise to take it unless he has the gumption to play under that qualifying.
The Brewers could not complete the sweep of the Cubs.
Michael Soroka, come on down. The Chicago Cubs have made their first trade of trade deadline season. They traded Christian Franklin and Ronnie Cruz from their minor league system for right-handed pitcher from the Nationals, Michael Soroka. I'm Sam Olver from the Locked On Cubs podcast. I know what you're thinking. Come on, Sam. 4.87 ERA. This is the guy. Are we not going to get anybody else? Look, take these moves for right now until the deadline's over in a vacuum. Cubs needed multiple starters. They got one of them. If he's the best one you get, that's a little bit frustrating. He's got a 4.87 ERA, but if you look under the hood, he's got a 4.12 FIP, which means, he's due for some good luck. He's got 87 strikeouts and 81 in a third innings. The staff needs that. This is a guy that I've had my eye on for a while, that I felt there was a good chance he would come here. Seems like a really good project, a good guy for Jed and the pitching lab to work with, and see if they could turn him into, a mid-3, high-3 ERA guy that you could start confidently in any sort of situation. It reminds me a little bit of the Matthew Boyd situation, right? The acquisition of Boyd. It was like, hey, who are the Cubs going to get? They're going to get multiple guys. Matthew Boyd, really? And look what Matthew Boyd is right now. Still want the Cubs to add another starter, preferably a 2 in the rotation or a 3. I think Soroka will slot in like a 4 type role. But I like the move, and I think the Cubs got better. I think the big league team definitely got better today with this trade. We're going to talk all about this trade and many more on our show live, 5 p.m. Central. Thursday night.
And the Philadelphia Phillies look to avoid a series loss to the White Sox, the worst team in baseball.
Sure, the Phillies just lost 2 of 3 to the Chicago White Sox, while the Mets were swept by the Padres. Sure, that all went down. Sure, they only scored 3 runs against the White Sox in Game 3. And sure, Max Lazar came in out of the bullpen in the 7th inning to allow 7 consecutive hits and get charged for 6 runs, all earned in total, to help lose that series there against the White Sox. Sure, all that happened, but you know what? There is a little bit of a saving grace that Dave Dombrowski pulled the trigger on a huge deal, making sure that this team at least had their closer for the rest of the season and hopefully deep into the playoffs. They were able to acquire, unbelievably, they were able to get Johan Duran from the Minnesota Twins to be their back end of the bullpen guy to slam the door in the event that they're leading in the 9th inning, which they need their bats to pick it up in order to do that. So
who are the best players in college football this coming season? We recently ranked the top 100 players in the sport, with Ohio State and Clemson stars running things at the top. The number 1 college football player for 2025 is, maybe no surprise, Jeremiah Smith, the receiver from Ohio State. No surprise here, as Smith racked up the accolades in a stunning freshman season with the Buckeyes, Big Ten Freshman of the Year, Big Ten Receiver of the Year, and First Team All-American. He set the FBS single-season record for receiving yards and touchdowns by a true freshman. For more on the best player in college football, here's Locked On Buckeyes host Jay Stevens.
100%. No doubt about it. Jeremiah Smith tops this list. I am Jay Stevens, the host of Locked On Buckeyes, and Jeremiah Smith is a top-ranked player in college football because he's a total package. He has elite size, elite speed, elite hands, and an elite mindset. What separates him isn't just talent. It's how polished he already is. He was cooking veteran corners as a true freshman. He's a smooth route runner. He's explosive after the catch. He's reliable in contested situations, and his work ethic, y'all, it's off the charts. Now, entering year 2 in Ryan Day's system with more trust and more chemistry, the spotlight is only getting brighter, and Jeremiah Smith is ready to own it. For more on Ohio State, subscribe to Locked On Buckeyes on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts.
In at number 2, someone Jeremiah Smith is going to know. Caleb Downs, the safety, also from Ohio State, a unanimous All-American for the Buckeyes. Downs, arguably the best defender in the country. Speaking of defenders, Dylan Stewart from South Carolina joins this list at number 3. As a true freshman in 2024, Stewart recorded 6.5 sacks and 10.5 tackles for loss, earning unanimous freshman All-American and freshman All-SEC selections. At number 4, Jeremiah Love, the running back from Notre Dame. In 2024, Love rushed for 1,125 yards on 163 carries. On 163 carries with 17 touchdowns, averaging a career best 6.9 yards per carry. At number 5, another fantastic freshman, Ryan Williams from Alabama. He was dazzling as a freshman a season ago, hauling in 48 catches for 865 yards and 8 touchdowns, while providing us with one of the best plays of the 2024 season against Georgia. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go online, search it. You will find it, I promise. At number 6, our first quarterback on the list, Cade Klubnik from Clemson. It's taken a little bit of time, but Klubnik has blossomed into one of the best signal callers in the nation. He also gets the luxury of throwing to one of college football's best receiving corps. Expectations extremely high for the Tigers with Klubnik at the helm. What makes him the top quarterback in college football? Locked On Clemson host Morgan Thomas explains.
No doubt about it, Cade Klubnik is one of the best quarterbacks in college football. I'm Morgan Thomas, host of Locked On Clemson. Cade Klubnik enters 2025 with 3 seasons under his belt now with Garrett Riley's system. And last year, he threw for over 3,600 yards, 30 total touchdowns, and cut down his interceptions almost in half. His chemistry with returning wide receivers like Antonio Williams, Bryant Wesco, TJ Moore, Tyler Brown are going to make him be elite. The returning production of 80% overall. Expect Cade Klubnik to open the season up with a big-time statement against an SEC powerhouse of LSU. If he stays clean, confident, and his feet are settled, he won't just be the best ACC quarterback. He'll be one of the best quarterbacks in the country. For more Tigers information, subscribe to Locked On Clemson over on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts.
At number 7, Anthony Hill, the linebacker from Texas, who had 113 tackles in 2024, including 16.5 for loss with 8 sacks. The best linebacker in the country, was second team All-American by multiple outlets last season. Another signal caller on the list and a potential number 1 overall pick in 2025 or the 2026 draft, but from the 2025 season. Number 8, Garrett Nussmeier from LSU. As LSU's starter in 2024, Nussmeier set the school record for single season passing yards by a first-year starter with over 4,000 plus 29 touchdowns. Pretty good. Locked On LSU host Matt Moscana reflects on Nussmeier's hype and the high expectations for 2025.
Ask around college football, who is the leading returning passer in the country? Not many people would say Garrett Nussmeier, but the LSU fifth-year senior is the only returning 4,000-yard passer in the country. A lot of people point out Nussmeier's missteps and turnovers, and there were some bad ones. But LSU a season ago was 104th in the country in rushing offense, meaning for a lion's share of the season, Nussmeier had to wear Superman's cape, and for much of it, he obliged. Now, LSU is hoping Nussmeier can take a similar step from year 4 to year 5 as Jaden Daniels and Joe Burrow before him. Also, Nussmeier is just 3,400 yards away from becoming LSU's career passing yardage leader, a mark he should eclipse with a similar season to a year ago. And if he does, he could very well lead LSU back into the playoffs.
Stay up to date all year on college football by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On College Football on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, how's that Tennessee offense looking so far with Cam Ward calling the shots? The Tennessee Titans are surrounding number 1 overall pick Cam Ward with a group of veteran playmakers. Locked On NFL host Kevin Ostreicher and Luke Braun discuss whether or not this unit could surprise folks this season.
It's veteran, right? I mean, it's Tyler Lockett, Calvin Ridley, and Van Jefferson. These guys have all been around the block, which is going to be helpful to a young quarterback, even if they're not the best receiver. I mean, Van Jefferson is not going to be, dominating anybody's fantasy lineups, but even just as somebody with some experience in I think the Brian Callahan scheme is McVay tree, right? Because I think he came from Cincy. I forget.
Yeah, Callahan. Yep, from Cincy.
Yeah. So Van Jefferson has experience in those schemes that can be nice and helpful in offensive meeting rooms. Not to mention all the experience that Tyler Lockett has with Shane Waldron and Calvin Ridley, who's been around the block. Like, these guys have all been in the league, and that can help a young quarterback. I don't know if that's going to make for a lot of great production. I don't know if that's a trio that I would do, but I honestly, I'm taking that trio over, I don't know, not 0 teams, right? Like, I'm taking that trio over a fair number of teams in this league. That's fine.
Let me give you a place I think Cam Ward is going to be good right away. Fantasy football. And I know, look, I know real football and fantasy football are different. That's why they gave them different names. Cam Ward is going to be allowed to sling the rock. They are going to have to win these games. He can run. I think there is a lot of upside here for exactly the reasons that Kevin and Luke have laid out here. The improvements to the offensive line are real. They are significant. There is a nice collection of pass catchers here. Is it going to light the world on fire? No. But it is a relatively stable situation. Now, do we have any reason to believe that the head coach and this infrastructure is any good? No, we do not. But after playing this game last year with, Caleb Williams comes into the best situation ever for a number 1 overall pick. And by the way, he was not good last year. The numbers looked okay, but qualitatively, he was not good. I think the Titans have a chance to be a better team than the Bears were last year. I think Cam Ward has a chance to have a better season than Caleb Williams did last year. And I think this team has a chance to sneak into the wild card, if for no other reason than that division absolutely stinks. I think Houston's overrated. I think the Colts are a disaster. Jacksonville's kind of sneaky, and I'm tempted to bet on them to win the division. But I think they can sneak into the wild card here. I think the AFC is soft after the top couple teams. Don't be surprised. I won't be. And finally, Gilbert Arenas always had a flair for the dramatic, but his latest turn takes him off the hardwood and into federal court. The former NBA star arrested Wednesday in connection with allegedly hosting high-stakes illegal poker games at his California mansion, complete with chefs, valets, armed security, and even massage services. Arenas faces up to 15 years in prison if convicted on all counts. He very well could be facing a different kind of stat line than what he's accustomed to, courtesy of the U.S. Attorney's Office. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, are the Giants sleepwalking through camp as usual, or are they actually doing something with their new crop of QBs? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on Sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.